A recent alert from nutritional researchers has caught the medical community's attention. Walnuts, long celebrated as a brain-boosting superfood, may actually harm seniors when consumed incorrectly. Studies now show that over half of adults aged 60 and above unknowingly make critical mistakes with walnut consumption, mistakes that can trigger digestive problems, nutrient loss, and even dangerous medication interactions. These aren't minor issues. The way you eat walnuts can mean the difference between cognitive protection and health complications. Let's examine 5 dangerous walnut mistakes you must avoid, starting with number 5. Mistake number 5, eating too many walnuts at once. Portion control with walnuts becomes critical after 60, yet most seniors consume far more than their bodies can properly handle. One handful seems harmless, but walnuts pack an intense nutritional punch that your aging digestive system processes very differently than it did decades ago. A single ounce, approximately 7 whole walnuts, delivers 185 calories and 18 grams of fat. While predominantly healthy fats, this concentration places substantial demand on digestive enzymes that naturally decline with age. Research from the Journal of Nutritional Gerontology reveals a troubling pattern. Scientists tracked 890 seniors over 12 months and discovered that those consuming more than 1.5 ounces of walnuts daily experienced a 47% increase in gastrointestinal complaints including bloating, cramping, and altered bowel patterns. The study's lead researcher noted that aging significantly reduces lipase production, the enzyme responsible for breaking down fats, making excessive walnut consumption particularly problematic for older adults. The calorie density creates another hidden trap. Many seniors snack on walnuts throughout the day without tracking amounts. 2 handfuls here, a few more while watching television, suddenly you've added 400 to 600 calories without feeling full. This caloric surplus contributes to gradual weight gain, which after 60 increases risks for diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and joint deterioration. Unlike fiber-rich foods that signal satiety, the fat in walnuts doesn't trigger the same fullness response, making overconsumption surprisingly easy. There's a biochemical concern that receives insufficient attention: phytic acid. Walnuts contain significant levels of this naturally occurring compound, which binds to essential minerals in your digestive tract. When you eat excessive amounts, phytic acid essentially kidnaps calcium, iron, magnesium, and zinc before your intestines can absorb them. A 2023 study in clinical nutrition found that seniors consuming high phytate diets showed mineral absorption rates reduced by 20 to 30%, a devastating loss when bone density and cognitive function depend on adequate mineral status. Your safest approach involves strict portion awareness. Measure 1 ounce daily, 7 whole walnuts or 2 tablespoons chopped, and treat this as your maximum. Divide this amount between morning and afternoon rather than consuming it all at once, allowing your digestive system to process smaller fat loads more efficiently. Consider using a small container to pre-portion your weekly supply, eliminating guesswork and preventing mindless overconsumption. This disciplined approach delivers walnut benefits without overwhelming your body's processing capacity. Mistake number 4, eating walnuts that are not fresh. Freshness determines whether walnuts heal or harm you, yet this critical factor gets overlooked by most seniors. Unlike produce that shows visible spoilage, walnuts can appear perfect while harboring dangerous chemical changes. The culprit is oxidation, the same process that rusts metal and browns cut apples. Walnuts contain about 65% fat, primarily polyunsaturated fatty acids that react aggressively with oxygen, heat, and light. Once oxidation begins, beneficial omega-3s transform into harmful lipid peroxides and free radicals. A disturbing 2024 investigation published in Food Safety Journal tested walnuts from retail sources across multiple regions. Results showed that 38% of samples from bulk bins demonstrated significant rancidity markers, while 22% of packaged walnuts stored improperly at home had begun oxidizing. The researchers emphasized that consuming oxidized fats doesn't just eliminate health benefits, it actively generates inflammatory compounds that damage cells throughout your body. Understanding the mechanism matters. Fresh walnuts contain alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, an omega-3 fatty acid your brain and cardiovascular system desperately need. But when walnuts go rancid, this protective ALA breaks down into aldehydes and ketones, toxic byproducts that promote oxidative stress. After 60, your body's antioxidant defenses weaken naturally, making you particularly vulnerable to free radical damage. Research from the Journal of Gerontology documented that seniors regularly consuming oxidized fats showed accelerated cognitive decline and elevated inflammatory markers compared to those eating fresh nuts. The sensory signals are subtle initially. Rancid walnuts develop a sharp, bitter taste, similar to paint thinner or stale cooking oil. The smell becomes acrid rather than mild and slightly sweet. But here's the danger: if you've been eating stale walnuts for months, your taste buds adapt, and you stop noticing these warning signs. You continue consuming oxidized fats, believing you're nourishing your body when you're actually feeding inflammation. Storage conditions make or break walnut freshness. Room temperature storage accelerates oxidation dramatically. Walnuts left in your pantry begin degrading within 3 to 4 weeks. Light exposure, especially through clear packaging, speeds the process further. Heat from nearby appliances or sunny countertops compounds the damage. Most seniors make the fatal mistake of buying large quantities during sales, then storing them improperly for months. Protect yourself with these non-negotiable rules. First, purchase walnuts in smaller quantities, enough for 2 to 3 weeks maximum. Choose packages with recent production dates and avoid bulk bins unless you can verify rapid turnover and proper storage. Second, immediately transfer walnuts to airtight glass containers and refrigerate them. Cold temperatures slow oxidation dramatically, extending shelf life to 6 months. For longer storage, freeze walnuts in vacuum-sealed bags. They'll maintain quality for up to a year. Third, always perform the sniff and taste test before eating. If there's any hint of bitterness or off smell, discard the entire batch without hesitation. Your health after 60 demands fresh, properly stored walnuts. Anything less becomes a liability rather than an asset. Mistake number 3, combining walnuts with fish oil supplements. This combination appears perfectly healthy on the surface. Both walnuts and fish oil are celebrated for omega-3 content and cardiovascular benefits. Yet consuming them together without medical supervision creates a serious risk that most seniors never anticipate: dangerous blood thinning. The interaction between these two omega-3 sources can push your blood's clotting ability beyond safe limits, especially when you're already taking common medications prescribed after 60. Let's examine the biochemistry. Walnuts provide approximately 2.5 grams of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, per ounce, a plant-based omega-3 your body partially converts into EPA and DHA. Fish oil supplements typically contain 1 to 2 grams of EPA and DHA per capsule. When you consume both daily, you're ingesting 3.5 to 4.5 grams of total omega-3 fatty acids. This might sound beneficial, but omega-3s possess natural anticoagulant properties. They inhibit platelet aggregation and reduce your blood's tendency to clot. Most seniors skip this crucial consideration. Don't make that mistake. Research published in the American Heart Association's journal tracked 1,400 adults over 60 who combined walnut consumption with fish oil supplementation. The findings were alarming. Participants showed a 43% increase in prolonged bleeding times, easy bruising, and in severe cases, spontaneous bleeding episodes including nosebleeds, gum bleeding, and dangerous gastrointestinal bleeding. The study concluded that this combination, particularly without physician oversight, poses unnecessary hemorrhagic risks. The danger multiplies if you're taking common medications. After 60, many people take daily aspirin for heart protection, or prescription anticoagulants like warfarin, apixaban, or clopidogrel for atrial fibrillation, previous blood clots, or stroke prevention. These medications already thin your blood intentionally. Adding both walnuts and fish oil creates a triple blood thinning effect: medication plus 2 dietary sources, that can push you into dangerous territory where even minor injuries cause excessive bleeding. Your body's natural clotting mechanisms also decline with age. The liver produces fewer clotting factors, platelet function becomes less efficient, and blood vessel walls grow more fragile. When you compound age-related changes with medications and excessive omega-3 intake, you're asking for trouble. A simple fall, a minor cut while cooking, or even vigorous toothbrushing can result in bleeding that's difficult to control. When 71-year-old Mrs. Amina noticed increasingly severe bruising on her arms and legs, she assumed it was normal aging. She'd been taking fish oil daily for heart health and eating walnuts every morning for brain function. Both seemed responsible and healthy. But when a minor kitchen accident resulted in bleeding that wouldn't stop for 30 minutes, her doctor ordered coagulation tests. Results showed her blood's clotting time had extended dangerously beyond normal ranges. Her physician immediately recognized the omega-3 overdose pattern and helped her adjust her routine. Within 3 weeks of eliminating fish oil and reducing walnuts to small amounts, her clotting function normalized. The solution requires coordination with your healthcare provider. If you're taking fish oil supplements, consult your doctor before adding regular walnut consumption to your diet. Similarly, if you eat walnuts daily, discuss this before starting fish oil. Your physician may need to adjust supplement dosages, recommend choosing one omega-3 source over the other, or schedule periodic blood tests to monitor clotting factors. Some people with high bleeding risk should avoid combining these sources entirely. Never assume that because something is natural or healthy, it's safe in unlimited combinations. After 60, your body's delicate balance demands careful attention to interactions between foods, supplements, and medications. Mistake number 2, inconsistent walnut eating. Consistency matters more than enthusiasm when it comes to walnuts after 60. Many seniors approach walnut consumption sporadically, eating handfuls daily for a week when they remember health benefits, then forgetting about them for weeks, then resuming again after reading another article. This on and off pattern not only diminishes benefits but may actually create problems that consistent, moderate consumption would avoid. The science behind nutritional consistency reveals why your body needs steady, reliable nutrient delivery rather than erratic bursts. Research from the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition conducted a fascinating comparison study involving 2,100 seniors over 18 months. Participants were divided into 3 groups: consistent daily walnut consumers, 1 ounce daily without breaks; sporadic consumers, eating walnuts irregularly, averaging the same monthly amount but with gaps; and a control group eating no walnuts. Results were striking. The consistent group showed significant improvements in cognitive function tests, reduced inflammation markers, and better cardiovascular health metrics. The sporadic group showed minimal improvements, statistically insignificant compared to the control group despite consuming similar total amounts over time. Why does consistency matter so profoundly? Your body's cellular processes operate on predictable rhythms and depend on steady nutrient availability. Omega-3 fatty acids from walnuts become incorporated into cell membranes throughout your body, particularly in brain neurons and cardiovascular tissue. This incorporation process takes time and requires continuous omega-3 presence. When you eat walnuts daily, you maintain optimal omega-3 levels in cellular membranes, supporting anti-inflammatory signaling and proper cellular function. When consumption is erratic, these levels fluctuate wildly. Your body never achieves the steady state needed for therapeutic benefits. Think of it like watering a garden. Plants thrive with regular, consistent watering that keeps soil moisture stable. If you drench them one day, ignore them for a week, then overwater again, they struggle despite receiving adequate total water over time. Your cells respond similarly. They need consistent, moderate nutrient delivery, not feast or famine cycles that create metabolic confusion. There's another mechanism at play: gene expression. Omega-3 fatty acids influence which genes get activated or suppressed in your cells, a process called epigenetic regulation. Studies show that consistent omega-3 intake gradually shifts gene expression patterns toward anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective profiles. These changes take weeks to establish and require ongoing omega-3 presence to maintain. Sporadic consumption never allows these beneficial genetic shifts to fully develop or stabilize. The digestive system provides additional evidence for consistency's importance. When you eat walnuts regularly, your gut microbiome adapts. Beneficial bacteria that help metabolize walnut compounds flourish and optimize their enzyme production for walnut digestion. Your intestinal cells upregulate nutrient transporters specific to walnut nutrients. This adaptation makes walnut consumption easier, more comfortable, and more nutritionally efficient. But these adaptations require weeks to develop and quickly reverse during gaps in consumption. Sporadic eaters essentially force their digestive systems to readapt repeatedly, often experiencing more bloating and discomfort than consistent consumers. Blood sugar regulation also benefits from consistency. Although walnuts are low glycemic, their healthy fats and fiber help stabilize blood sugar when consumed as part of a regular routine. Research indicates that seniors who eat small amounts of nuts daily show better insulin sensitivity and glucose control compared to those eating larger amounts sporadically. The steady supply of healthy fats seems to train your metabolic system toward more stable glucose handling. Mistake number 1: not soaking walnuts before consumption. This single mistake prevents more seniors from receiving walnut benefits than any other factor, yet it remains virtually unknown outside nutritional science circles. The overwhelming majority of people eat walnuts straight from the package, crunchy, dry, raw. This seems perfectly natural and harmless. But raw walnuts contain several compounds that actively interfere with digestion and nutrient absorption, particularly in aging digestive systems. Soaking walnuts before eating them initiates a transformation that makes them dramatically more digestible, nutritious, and gentle on your body. Raw walnuts exist in a dormant state, protected by nature's preservation system. They contain enzyme inhibitors, substances that prevent the nut's own enzymes from activating prematurely. These inhibitors serve an important purpose for the walnut. They keep it viable during storage until growing conditions trigger germination. But when you eat raw walnuts, these same enzyme inhibitors block your digestive enzymes. Research published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology measured this effect precisely. Enzyme inhibitors in raw nuts can reduce protein digestibility by 25 to 35% in older adults whose digestive enzyme production has already declined with age. The impact on your nutrition is significant. You're eating walnuts specifically for their protein, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals. But enzyme inhibitors essentially steal away a substantial portion of these nutrients before your intestines can absorb them. You're getting only 65 to 75% of the nutritional value you believe you're consuming, and you're working harder to digest what remains. Phytic acid presents the second major problem with raw walnuts. This natural compound, found in all nuts and seeds, binds powerfully to minerals, particularly calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. When phytic acid latches onto these minerals in your digestive tract, it creates insoluble complexes that pass through your intestines without being absorbed. A comprehensive 2022 study in the Journal of Trace Elements in Medicine and Biology quantified this effect. Unsoaked nuts can reduce mineral absorption by 30 to 60%. For seniors already vulnerable to osteoporosis, anemia, and mineral deficiencies, this loss is devastating. You're eating walnuts partly for their mineral content, but phytic acid is essentially hijacking those very minerals before your body can use them. Beyond nutrient blocking, raw walnuts contain tannins, polyphenolic compounds concentrated in the papery skin. Tannins create that slightly bitter, astringent taste. More importantly, they can irritate sensitive digestive tracts and interfere with iron absorption specifically. After 60, when many people develop more sensitive stomachs and struggle with iron status, tannins add another layer of digestive stress. Here's where soaking creates transformation. When you submerge walnuts in water, you're mimicking the natural conditions that trigger germination. The water activates enzymes within the nut that begin breaking down enzyme inhibitors, reducing phytic acid, and leaching out tannins. Studies show that 4 to 8 hours of soaking reduces phytic acid content by 50 to 90%, depending on soaking time and whether salt is added to the water. The enzyme inhibitors break down significantly. The tannins partially dissolve into the soaking water, which is then discarded. A landmark study from Nutritional Research followed 340 seniors for 12 weeks. Half consumed 1 ounce of raw walnuts daily, half consumed the same amount of properly soaked walnuts. Both groups received identical nutritional counseling and health monitoring. The results were remarkable. The soaked walnut group showed a 38% reduction in digestive complaints, less bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Blood tests revealed significantly higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, and zinc in the soaked walnut group, indicating superior nutrient absorption. Cognitive function tests showed modest improvements in the soaked group that were absent in the raw walnut group. Most telling, participants eating soaked walnuts reported finding them more pleasant tasting and easier to incorporate consistently into their diets. The digestive comfort factor cannot be overstated. Many seniors try eating walnuts for health benefits but stop within weeks because of digestive upset, the bloating, the gas, the cramping. They conclude that walnuts don't agree with them and abandon this nutritious food entirely. But in most cases, it's not walnuts themselves causing problems, it's the enzyme inhibitors, phytic acid, and tannins in raw, unsoaked walnuts. Soaking eliminates most digestive distress, allowing seniors to enjoy walnuts comfortably long-term. The proper soaking method is simple but requires planning. Place your walnuts in a glass or ceramic bowl, avoid metal, which can react with compounds released during soaking. Cover them completely with filtered or purified water, ensuring at least an inch of water above the nuts since they'll absorb some liquid and expand slightly. Add a pinch of sea salt or Himalayan salt, approximately half a teaspoon per cup of walnuts. The salt helps neutralize enzyme inhibitors more effectively through osmotic action. Let the bowl sit at room temperature for a minimum of 4 hours, though overnight soaking, 8 to 12 hours, yields optimal results. You'll notice the water becomes slightly cloudy or takes on a light brown tinge. That's visual evidence of enzyme inhibitors, phytic acid, and tannins leaching out. After soaking, drain the walnuts completely and rinse them thoroughly under running water. You'll immediately notice they look plumper and feel softer. At this point, you have choices. Many people prefer eating soaked walnuts immediately while still soft and moist. The texture becomes almost creamy, and the flavor turns milder and slightly sweeter. This is the easiest approach, requiring no additional preparation. However, if you prefer the crispy texture of dry walnuts, you can dehydrate them. Spread soaked walnuts in a single layer on a baking sheet and place in an oven set to its lowest temperature, ideally 150 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, though even 200 degrees works if that's your oven's minimum. Leave them for 8 to 24 hours, checking periodically, until they've dried completely and regained crispiness. Some people use food dehydrators for this process, which works excellently and maintains even lower temperatures. Once dried, soaked walnuts look and taste remarkably similar to raw walnuts, but with subtle differences: slightly sweeter, less bitter, easier to chew. More importantly, they retain all the digestive and nutritional advantages of soaking. Store dried soaked walnuts in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. These 5 dangerous walnut mistakes, from portion control failures to the critical importance of soaking, represent the difference between walnuts enhancing your health after 60 or potentially undermining it. Each mistake seems small in isolation, but their cumulative impact affects everything from digestive comfort to cognitive function. The encouraging news is that avoiding these pitfalls requires only awareness and simple adjustments to your routine, not complex protocols or expensive interventions. Thank you for taking time to learn how to eat walnuts safely. Your commitment to understanding your body's needs is the first step toward lasting wellness. Stay informed, stay intentional, and may every handful of properly prepared walnuts support the vibrant health you deserve.